when you meet God, what kind of return on the investment he made in you will he say? 1% return? No return on the investment? What's your answer? Well, today, I want to come to you and let's talk about that. Let's focus on that a little bit. Of course, I am Gerald McPhail, your pastorpreneur, and I really want to look at return on investment. I have always, when I'm talking with people who are interested in entrepreneurial business kinds of things, wanted to take them back to a fundamental that I learned, and that's return on investment. Now, the return on investment is not just money. Now, there's a formula that I have back, and we can say, well, if you put $1, and da, 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 da. But I'm talking about return on investment that goes in the area of what I call the 5 T's. Watch out, somebody. I'm talking about not only your treasure, you know what I'm talking about, but what about return on investment? Your talent? What about the return on investment of your time? What about the return on investment even in your temple, your body? Come on, what kind of return? And lastly, the return on investment on your thoughts. Those are those 5 T's that I believe we should be faithful stewards. We should manage well in those 5 areas. Now, again, because of who I am and my background and that kind of thing, I do want people, in addition to all those areas, to recognize when you are putting out what God, for example, has put in, at some point there's going to come a time where there's an accounting. What are you talking about? I'm talking about, come on, let me remind you of the parable of the talents that we find in Matthew 25. Now, you know that story. I don't want to read verbatim all of it, but it basically, if I can give the Gerald McPhail version, it's basically when someone, they call him the one who's in charge, a master or whatever it is, gave to his servants, or employees, or however you want to look at it, some talents, and said, okay, here are the talents. And of course, he gave 5 to 1. And again, he gave them some talents. He said, okay, I'm going to come back and check and see what you did. And of course, the one who gave 5, he went and invested. The one he gave 2, he went and invested. And there was somebody, I don't know, y'all might call him lazy. What he did was he buried it, just put it in the ground. Said, okay, it'll be there when you get back. But he didn't want to do anything for it or about it. And of course, if you go through the biblical scripture, there's going to be a number of principles that you can learn from each one of them. But what I wanted to bring today is that from that parable, I get this concept of God in us, or even when we invest in ourselves, what kind of return are we going to get? There's a return on investment that I think we should be aware of. And again, some of you are learning how to invest, and some of you have some extra money, and you go and put it in a regular bank account. And you get less than 1% return on that. Again, hey, what's God going to say? What's somebody that's looking going to say? What kind of return on investment did you get? Or your money just sitting there? Are you the kind that's lazy and not even knowing how to get a higher interest on the money? Or do you do something different? Some of you say, what kind of difference? Well, I'm going to share with you today something that impacted my perspective. From a little boy, I've always been influenced by my dad. And of course, my dad died when I was 9. But man, he was a giant in my life and in the influence of being an entrepreneur for that day. And I saw the things he did and how he employed people and how he just served the community in so many different ways. And as I grew, and you get a little education and you do a number of different kinds of things, this concept, this quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki is the one that introduced it to me. This is the guy that authored Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But this quadrant, this thing was like, wow, it brought clarity of options that people have. And as a matter of fact, whichever quadrant you're in is going to have a big factor in determining, my perspective, what kind of return on investment you're going to get. So, for example, most people are in the top left quadrant, the one that's labeled E. Most people are employees. Isn't that amazing? Yep, most people are employees. And in this, there's going to be a limit even in our government taxation structure. You're going to make some money for exchanging your time for a particular dollar, okay? And somebody's going to tell you when and where you have to do what you're supposed to do for them, and you say thank you and go your way. And people do that all the time. Well, Robert Kiyosaki was saying, well, there's this quadrant where there's a lot of employees. Well, some people understand and begin to learn it. Well, what if I'm self-employed? I don't work for somebody else, but I work for myself. And you go, oh, okay, being a self-employed, that's great. Can be. What I have found is that really, instead of you trading your time for your money for somebody else, you're trading your time for your money for yourself. And typically a lot of self-employed people in that quadrant, they end up working themselves to the bones. And you probably, well, most entrepreneurs, when you start a business, stuff like that, you work, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, or, you spend a whole lot of time because you're an entrepreneur. You're self-employed. And what he was showing me is that you need to understand the difference. As a matter of fact, he called it like the left side of money. Are you employee or self-employed? Again, you're trading your time for money. Self-employed people, man, if you get sick or you want to go on a vacation, money goes down because you're trading time for money. And then what he said is that there's a right side of money, literally, in this quadrant. So if you understand that you can move from being employed to self-employed, but when you're self-employed, you can move to the top side of the quadrant on the right side. It's got a B by it, and it's called a business owner. You probably say, wait, when I'm self-employed, I'm not a business owner. Just stay with it. The business owner is different than the self-employed person because the business owner is leveraging other people or systems so that you're no longer simply trading time for money. Now, okay, hold on. You probably say, okay, this is return on investment? Yes, you check out those 5 T's. Your time, the time you put in something. You're going to put the time in as an employee, trading time for money. Or you're going to put the time in as a self-employed, where you're doing it solo by yourself, and if you work and you get some kind of return. Or will you understand that maybe, looking at the right side, looking at another option, if you take your business and become a business owner by setting up systems, utilizing other people. Actually, you're employing people, leveraging those people. Like I said, man, a little boy, I saw my dad serve the community, and he had people working for him. He had a dump truck. Now, he also had a lot of boys that would work, but he had people that would actually go and do the work that he couldn't do by himself. He couldn't pick up trash for all the community. And that's something. Way back in the day, like a garbage collector. Way back in the day, farming. But you employ people so that they go out and do the kinds of things. Way back in the day, having a juke joint where he had a little store, had a little rooming house, had a pool room, had a dance floor. Come on. I'm like, remember, this is the guy that showed me not only when you work for yourself, do you do it by yourself, but you set up systems so that you leverage people and the systems. For such a time as this, for example, man, we have online AI. We can set up systems to automate some things so that, again, what we're doing, even if we're solo, We don't have to, when we go on vacation, the business can still work because we have automated it. And of course, that means you have to not be lazy. That means you have to learn some new things. That means you have to try out some things and get it so that it's working, so that you move from where most people are, the employee or the self-employed. No, you move to the business owner with the systems. Does that make sense? But I'm gonna tell you what, when Robert Kiyosaki showed me this, and I began to look at it in all different ways in my life and how I could apply it, and I was probably in 2 or 3 quadrants at the same time, and hey, that's okay. But what I did learn is, oh man, that last quadrant, that I quadrant, that quadrant where you're an investor, that was like, oh, happy dance, happy. Because what I learned is that there, you teach your money to make money. You leverage the dollar, not just people and systems, that kind of thing, but you teach your dollar by investing properly, which again reminds me of what those in Matthew 25 did when they took what was given to them and doubled it. When the person came back to check and see, what have you done with it? Versus some of us who at some times get something that we have, we call it talent, and we simply, because of whatever the environment is, keep it to ourselves or bury it. And I'm like, whoa, no, invest it. I've been around quite a while, but some of you can probably let me know if you've had the opportunity to observe this. When I was growing up, as even young, there would be like an idea that I would get. And I believe that it was downloaded from God Almighty. And even I hear some ideas that other people get. And we did nothing about it. It was just an idea. And then all of a sudden we look and we go, whoa, look at what that person is doing with the idea that was downloaded to me years ago. Again, you young people today, I don't know if you've experienced that, but if you lived around, if you're positioning yourself, I believe that God will download to us ideas. As a matter of fact, I heard some statistic way back that God will download to us ideas, even in a year, that could take up us for a lifetime if we would simply follow up on it. But anyway, that's me chasing the rabbit again. I want you today to understand that when God gives you an idea, when God gives you certain experiences and expertise, when God gives you a certain amount of time, when God gives you the energy, I'm a little older now, can't run as fast, can't jump as high, but when God gives you in your temple, use it wisely, invest it, get the kind of return that God will say, that people observing will say. And I'm beginning to feel a little something here. I'm talking about that feeling when the day comes and we will hear the sound of saying, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few, you know what I'm talking about. Let me tap a little bit there, going back a ways. But it is that feeling of doing something well. And in the story, when you read, you find that when God determines that you've been faithful, that you've done well, he says he's going to give you more. As a matter of fact, you're going to have the joy that comes along with being a faithful steward, getting the kind of return that you're supposed to get, not your neighbor. So take these biblical principles from the parable of the talents. My challenge to you would be, which of the T's will you start with? Will it be your time? In this day and time, there are statistics about people spending hours and hours a day simply looking online platforms that adds no value or not much of any value, but hours. Will the Holy Spirit be speaking to you about the return on the investment of how you spend your time? Maybe it will be your thoughts. And again, I don't know the statistics, but man, I remember this thing of saying, like, how many thoughts people actually have every day. I mean, thoughts and thoughts and thoughts that come in our mind. Do we need to be a better steward of the thoughts that come in our mind? I mean, especially, like, for example, if God gave you an idea, I mean, really kind of download. It's like, wow. And it's like, man, that idea, I just made reference to, it could be something that could sustain you for the rest of your life. It could be. But wait a minute. We know all the thoughts that we have in our mind, there's going to be some that's going to come from the adversary. There's going to be some that's going to come from us. There's going to be some that's going to come from our family and our friends and our haters and all those kind of things. Which will we focus on? Which will we invest our thoughts in? I don't know. What'd I say? Time? Your thoughts? Oh, our temple. When it gets the beginning of the year, there's a statistic about people saying, oh, okay, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to get in shape. And it lasts for less than 6 weeks is the way I understand it. All right, I'm stepping on my own toes because I know there's certain things that I have said to myself that I'm going to do, and sometimes I get off the wagon, off track, and I simply brush myself off and get back on. What about you? God has given you a body, and again, I know we like to say, well, God made me big boned. Some of us, we're just eating too much and not moving our feet enough. You know what I'm talking about. Is that the one where the return on investment God's given you in your temple, in your body, that you know that you need to get in better shape so you can have the energy to do the kinds of things that you know you should do as a result of now understanding who you should be or who you are, who you're made to be? But wait a minute, let's see. I think I said time. I think I said our thoughts. I said our temples. Wait a minute. There is the talents that we have. What expertise do you have that you're not really getting the kind of return because you're comparing yourself with somebody that's far ahead of you, instead of looking at what God has placed in you and the assignment He has for you so that you can help those that you're supposed to help? What kind of return on investment are you getting out of the talents, the abilities, the experiences that you've had? Ah, yes. Oh, which leaves the treasure. The money that comes through your hands or your bank account. Are you getting a return on investment? When God allows you to have that kind of resource, I don't care what it is, how much it is, it's how are you managing it? What kind of return on investment are you getting? Are you simply being the kind of people who spend everything for the today? Or have you decided that you're going to have, and let me say this, a budget, which is a plan for knowing that the amount that comes in, you have allocated where it's going to go, and a part of that allocation is going to be the amount that's going to be for what I call saving and or / investing. And there'll be some more specific things that I'd like to teach you when it comes to how you again, manage those dollars so they can make more dollars, being the kind of investor that you need to be. So you can have the kind of return on investment. Got me? Cool. I like to say, as I wrap up, I like to remind people of a truth that's really, really wonderful. And sometimes I don't know when I say this so quickly if people really get it. What do I say? I say, when you are made by the master, you made by the master, does that make you junk? No, it makes you a masterpiece. You are a masterpiece. I say it. I'm reminding you, when you're made by the master, it makes you a masterpiece. Now what? Be the masterpiece you were made to be today and every day. Until next time, I think I'm going to have some investment advice based on my life. Next time, peace.